Justin, and this video is going to be a focus list along with a breakdown of last week's price action on the NASDAQ and SPX. So 1 second and we'll get into the price action from last week on the main indices. So we'll start with ES, and we're in a confirmed uptrend. There's been weakness coming in, so that's important to know, but we shouldn't be panicking. We had a daily close below the 50 SMA, and that does bring attention, but when you're in a confirmed uptrend, the trend is your friend, and that is the thesis of how we trade. So we saw some selling days where the prior week the NASDAQ would be holding up the overall market. And now this week, we actually noticed the NASDAQ leading the overall market to the downside. And that has always been something that is very important to pay attention to. When big tech starts to sell, it drags the whole market down because, as most people know, the Apple, the Google, the Facebook, etc., those tickers are such a huge market cap of the entire capital that rotates through the entire markets. So let's dial in and zoom in to the chart. We formed a bit of a range, but on Friday we completely took that out, and we took out the lower trend line. So some areas to notice: the daily pivot is 44.83 and the monthly pivot is 44.70. If we don't make at least an attempt to reclaim those levels this week, pay attention. Right now you should be comfortable, but you don't want to be leveraged to the moon, and you don't want to be caught in the beginning of a bear market. Like I said before, we're in a confirmed uptrend. No reason to expect the bear market, but you should always be on your toes. Be ready to react and protect your capital. Don't leverage yourself too much, and there's a very nice system to successful trading. It isn't some sort of gambling game. So with the ES closing on high volume, weaker and lower, just be on your toes. Let's get into the NASDAQ, and immediately the price action is stronger. The NASDAQ is just, over the past few months, it's been in a more comfortable, strengthened area. And that's just because the FANG and the NASDAQ has been leading the market, simply put. So we see we're still in the upper to middle trend line zone. So compared to the ES was testing that downside, literally breaking the closing under the lower trend line. On the NASDAQ, we still have plenty of trendline areas of support. We're still above the 50 SMA. Compared to the ES, we're below the 50 SMA. So you see that there has been more confluence between the NASDAQ and the SPX lately, but overall, from the past 2 months of work and strength, the NASDAQ is just in a better position than the SPX. So let's zoom in even further. Kind of just like the SPX, we had some range days. You see the wicks. It wasn't inside days, but we're also forming a bit of a range until Friday. You get that strong sell day on not abnormally high volume, but quite high volume. So the volume, the close, the areas of trendline support, those are big for diagnosing the feel, the vibe of the overall market. So personally, I don't expect to sell through these levels. Like I said, we're in a confirmed uber bullish uptrend. We're having some selling, some weakness, some shorting of the rallies in the short intermediate term, but in the monthly, the weekly chart, those very important levels, we're still confirmed uptrend. So like I say, be on your toes, be prepared, don't be over leveraged, but we're in an uptrend. So ride the trend, and the trend is your friend. So let's hop into a few actionable ideas for the intermediate, 7 to 14, 21 day swing trades. I have multiple watch lists that I use. I use a daily swing watch list, which is primarily actionable ideas on the daily chart, and I like to have a weekly and a monthly. So I use all these different charts, and even for the short day trading with the futures markets, I'll use the 4 hour, the hourly, and the 15-minute. But the way markets work is you can't look at one chart and make a trade off of one chart. You must have the confluence of charts, understanding the big picture, the medium picture, and the smaller picture. So my favorite stocks for this week coming up, let's start with MNDY. I like it because the sell on Friday with both the NASDAQ and SPX, this stock still stayed quite strong. It didn't have a huge selling day. The volume on the sell wasn't super strong, and we're in a bit of a nice flag right here. So we're looking for the trend line break, and you don't want to chase. So remember, don't buy stocks that are extended more than 3, 4, 5% at the most from their pivots. Next, we have PWR. And I like this one. Yet again, you're going to hear this a few times because when we have a sell day on Friday, the relative strength of stocks is very important. So look at this, PWR on Friday, look at the volume, and it had a good close over that trend line. So we're forming a bit of a wedge, and that relative strength, very important. Along with the bullish volume, that's what we want to see. So looking for a break over that 119.7 pivot. Next we have cash. Oops. And this one is a bigger flag, but just like the prior two, abnormal volume, and it was a strong close, showing the relative strength of the overall market. Something that's important is when you're looking at stocks, you must understand what sectors they're in, because if you have 5 stocks that you're looking at that are all financial stocks, it doesn't make too much sense to look at them all. Pick maybe 1 or 2 of the strongest out of that little sector basket, rather than, being diversified when sometimes diversification isn't the best. You want to be with the leaders, not with the mediocre of the basket. So we're looking for that trend line break, or we take out this pivot right around, where is this? 52.4. So that's what I'm looking for on cash. Next we have OSUR. This thing, a huge consolidation, absolutely huge. And we got to zoom in even more. What a day, what a move. How many percents? Like up 15 to 20% in one day. So my theory with OSUR is, do we form a flag, a high type flag after that monster move? It might be the start of a very nice stage 2 uptrend. So keep your eye on OSUR, because when you get a move through such a downtrend line and so much consolidation for months, it's very important to keep your eye on such a stock. Last, SITM. And look at, we had the monster run and, a bit of consolidation, but now we had a strong close on Friday. The volume came in, pushed the stock up. We closed in the upper range, and we have a beautiful base right here. So looking for a move through 228. The all-time high is 223.25, but it has some good potential. All-time highs, you don't want to chase all-time highs, but when a stock's that high, it shows it's leading, it is strong, and it can go higher. It definitely can. So if you learned anything, if you like the analysis, all I ask is I'd love to have some communication, drop some comments, some questions, some book recommendations. How do you learn? It is a never-ending process, and the routine is probably the most important thing. You need to have a daily routine, a weekend routine, that you enjoy. You can't do things sustainably if you're not having fun with it. So, thank you so much for watching, and I'd love to hear some new ideas, new recommendations. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. Love you, and enjoy your weekend. Be kind, be gentle. Don't let your emotions flare up. Sometimes we all have emotions, but it's so important to be able to say, okay, calm down, go for a walk, read a book, channel those emotions in a way where you improve rather than losing your cool and doing things like that. I definitely recommend to all of you, create a list, your never do it again list. And make that list, 5, 10, 15 items. Things, activities, situations that you never want to be in again. Okay? Enjoy your day. Thank you so much.